In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. About around the first of every year, and frankly, it probably happens throughout the year, there are a great number of people, I should say, who decide to turn over a new leaf. And they decide that this is the year that they're going to live a healthier life. And so great resolutions are made, and food is thrown out, and promises to run 15 to 20 miles a week, and to eat clean, and to only do what is right for us. And statistics show that it doesn't often work. It doesn't last that long. It may be a week, it might be 2 months, and it might be forever for some people. But truly, going all out on something without any regard for, what might happen if not, is all too common. And when that happens, or if it happens, I should say, lots of people feel like they have failed, that there's shame sort of involved, and why couldn't I do this, and I must not have been strong enough or brave enough. I hope I'm not the only person who understands, this kind of experience. But also I would say, and particularly for those, many of us when we were younger, but up to now, to try to achieve fiscal health, the same thing. We decide that we have a goal to buy a house, to retire early, to do something or whatever, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we can do that, whether that's packing a lunch every day for the rest of our lives. Never going out, never spending any money on lunch, not buying coffee, out, but saving all the money for that and putting every single cent that we receive over and above what we need into a savings plan so that we can have the goal. Lofty, wonderful ambition. And we should always be ambitious. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but lots of times the wheels fall off of that because of unexpected expenses or things that could put in our way, or frankly, because we just get tired of eating bologna sandwiches after 3 weeks. And then a sense for that, there's also this sense of failure, that we weren't brave enough or ambitious enough or courageous enough. Like I said, we should always believe and try to achieve giant things. But the risk there is how we internalize it if it doesn't play out the way we want it to. Now, the reason I'm talking about this, of course, is because in the gospel text, we are at the end of sort of a 3-week series that Jesus was talking to the disciples, and the crowds gathered around him after the Sermon on the Mount. And in the first portion of the series that we read a couple of weeks ago, Jesus sent out the disciples. He commissioned them to be as he was. He sent them out in his name to heal the sick, to raise the dead, to bring people to new and differing and better life, to cure all sorts of illnesses. And they were amazed that they were given this gift. And they did great things. Jesus followed up, not when they just came back, but to also say, it's not going to be easy. I mean, I've given you this charge, and I've given you this commission to go out and to change the world and change the people around you. But just because you believe in me and just because you're a faithful person doesn't mean that you won't endure suffering. In fact, you may almost definitely endure some persecution because you are doing these works in my name. He says to be strong. I'm sending you out like sheep in the midst of wolves, but you always have the power of your God behind you. In last week's text, which was kind of difficult, there were a series of admonitions that Jesus gave, not just to the disciples, but those who were gathered around, in saying, you must pick up your cross and follow me if you wish to be my disciple. If you cannot do that, if you cannot separate yourselves from family and put me first, if you cannot do this, then you are not a disciple of mine. And I told y'all that, not that it was hyperbole necessarily, because Jesus was making a point, but that we shouldn't feel deflated if we can't fulfill every one of those. So after the third one last week, I'm sure maybe some of the disciples, I know I would have been thinking, wait, what? What's happening? Yeah, we were happy to follow you, and we loved learning from you, but what's going to happen to us? Death, separation, alienation from the people that we love. Is the strength of Jesus and God behind me, the disciples may have been wondering, strong enough to keep me going? And Jesus, of course, assures them that it is, just as he assures us that it's not just an invitation, it's actually a call for each one of us to be the disciples in the world that God has created for us. It's not just enough, Jesus would say, to come to church. That is an enormous portion of Jesus' call to each one of us. But we're also called to be disciples, to be out in the world, to represent Jesus in the world. And this gospel text says that whoever welcomes you welcomes me. Whoever receives from you receives from me. Not just the disciples, but every single one of us as well. When you do acts of kindness or grace or hospitality, when you pray and let people know that you are a person of faith and who wants to be a person to assist in grace, so that, and then often is returned, we are doing the work of Jesus. We are being Jesus, because that power has been instilled in each one of us. And it's still very ambitious for us to try to live every moment of our lives as a disciple of Jesus. And we will feel often as though we have failed. We will feel like sometimes the wheels have fallen off the bus, just in terms of the other ambitious things that we do. And that's okay as long as we realize that to God, we have not failed. And so if we can internalize in ourselves that God propels us forward, then we can keep on trying. And we pick up and we start all over again the next week to be disciples of Jesus. I think this text today gives us not a simpler way of being a disciple, but a way of being a disciple. When you offer even a cup of water to these little ones, surely there you will receive your reward. A cup of water is an easy thing to give. We give this, we receive this. Water is both life-changing and life-giving. We know that in the words of our baptism. We know that when we talk about the Holy Eucharist, when God led the people of Israel through the waters of the Red Sea. When Jesus was baptized, water permeates and moves in and around everything that we know and what we believe in terms of our faith, how it sustains us and gives us life. So giving a cup of water, even if not literally, but it's extending a portion of hospitality and a portion of grace, is the best and easiest way for us to start. You can, if you would like, volunteer to serve on the Altar Guild, to be a lector, to be in the choir, to be Eucharistic minister, to assist in the office, and even to preach on occasion. And I'm not going to say no to any one of y'all who wants to do all of that. But and again, we should be ambitious, but that's difficult. What we can do is to use the gifts that God has given you, whether it's to sing or to pray or to draw or to engage with children, to engage with adults, to teach, to feed. There are so many things in our St. Stephen's community in which we offer even a cup of water to these little ones. And Matthew wasn't talking about children when he said these little ones. He was talking about people of faith, particularly people early in their faith, new in their faith. So that's what we do here at St. Stephen's, but our call to be disciples in the world is not just within these walls or in Kimball Hall or in our courtyard. You are called, I am called, to extend a cup of water in the community around us, to be the face of Jesus, to model what God is calling each of you to do, not only on Sunday mornings, but in the world. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It should be sacrificial in some ways, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. And you will find what it is for you that cup of water, and what it means both to give it and then by God's grace to feel what it feels like when you receive it as well. If you were looking or not sure what a cup of water in your life might be to extend in terms of grace and hospitality and thanksgiving and care, come talk to me and I'll help. We will work together to find that. If you love children or if you miss working with children, we're going to have nearly 50 children here in just about 2 weeks from tomorrow, when we bring this our forum this year of Camp Create to St. Stephen's, and they'll be here for breakfast. And we have cookers, and we have arrangers, and we have lunch baggers, but we need people to welcome children. If you have an hour or two, come and see me, and I'll show you how to give a cup of water. We're about to gear up our youth and children's formation in a big way in just a couple of months. And that's another way, a simple cup of water, a couple of hours a month, and you can make a difference in the lives of adults and children in this parish, and maybe to bring others to know what that cup of water, how it feels, what it tastes like, so that then that we all in turn offer it to others. If you want to teach, if you want to learn about communication, to sing, if you want to help prepare the altar, there are a million different ways that we discover what that cup of water means to you, to extend to others, to be the person of Jesus in hospitality and of thanksgiving and of hope and of grace. All of us have been fed. Many of us feed. What do we do together to communicate that to the world around us? I look forward to hearing from you. Amen.